Max had always been a creature of loyalty and love. The moment he entered Tommy Brown's life, it felt as though they had known each other forever. Tommy was just a boy when he found the abandoned golden retriever wandering the streets. Max had been a scruffy, timid pup, his coat riddled with dirt and his collar long gone. But Tommy saw something in him, a spark of spirit that was unyielding even amidst despair. It stitched their souls together from that day on. They spent endless summer afternoons running through fields, climbing trees, and exploring the world around them. Max had been Tommy's shadow, always at his side. Whether it was a joyous day spent at the park, frolicking with the other neighborhood dogs, or a quiet evening spent indoors curled up on the couch, the bond they shared grew deeper. When Tommy laughed, Max wagged his tail with vigor, and when Tommy cried, Max was there to comfort him, his warm presence providing solace in the toughest moments. But as the years passed, life took a tragic turn. It started with a cough, innocuous at first, but persistent. Tommy's mother took him to doctors who promised that they would figure it out. However, as time moved forward, the diagnosis became more serious. Tommy was diagnosed with a rare illness, a disease that invaded his body like a thief in the night, stealing away his strength, his dreams, and eventually, his life. Throughout the grueling months of treatment, Max remained by Tommy's side, clinging to the hope that this was just a rough patch, that they would be back playing fetch in no time. Hugh would lay by Tommy's bed, his eyes filled with unwavering devotion as he watched over the boy. Tommy's laughter faded, replaced with silence, but Max never budged. He was there through every round of chemotherapy, every moment that felt insurmountable. Eventually, the day arrived that changed everything. Tommy's mother approached Max with tear-streaked cheeks and a heavy heart. She cradled the boy's small, frail hand in hers and whispered words that shattered the air. "Tommy, sweetheart, it's time to say goodbye." Those words echoed in the room as the golden light that once danced in Tommy's eyes dimmed, fading into a stillness that filled the air with something darker. Max felt the change before it even happened. As he sat by the hospital bed, he leaned in closer, trying to shake Tommy awake. But there was no response. The soft, rhythmic sound of Tommy's breathing came to a sudden stop. At that moment, Max's heart shattered. He howled as if he'd lost a part of himself, because he had. At the funeral, the family gathered to say their last goodbyes. Among the sea of black dresses and dark suits, one thing stood out vividly: Max, who refused to leave the edge of Tommy's grave. Even as people approached, muttering soft words of sympathy, Max would growl softly, protecting his boy even in death. The burial seemed to last an eternity. Finally, the earth was placed over the casket, and Max remained, staring at it with an intensity that only a loyal dog could possess. Days turned into weeks, and life continued for everyone except for Max. The Harrington family made an effort to reach out, offering assistance to Tommy's mother, who was drowning in her own sorrow. Yet, not one of them could quell the void created by Tommy's absence. Max roamed the empty hallways of the home, lost, in a grief he didn't know how to process. Out of habit, he'd still go to Tommy's room, hoping to find him there, perhaps reading or waiting to play. Tommy's mother finally made the heart-wrenching decision to move away, believing that starting fresh would help heal her wounds. But she couldn't bear the thought of leaving Max behind. After all, he was a part of Tommy, his best friend, his guardian, and now his companion in grief. "Come on, Max," Tommy's mother said softly as she opened the car door for him. Max hoppered in without hesitation, his heart yearning for the familiarity of companionship. As they drove away, he looked back at the grave, a single tear in his eye, a sorrowful farewell to the boy who had given him everything. In their new home, a quaint little house on the outskirts of a small town, Max tried to adapt. He explored the garden, sniffed at new flowers, and ran beneath the sun-drenched trees. Yet every day, he returned to a spot near the window, gazing into the horizon as if expecting Tommy to come running home from school. Tommy's mother, overwhelmed with grief, found solace in the thought that Max was there to keep her company. Each morning she would lay out a bowl of food, but while she went about a day, she quickly learned that Max refused to eat. A bright-eyed dog had turned into a shadow, a figure that wandered through life without purpose. One day, in a moment of desperation, she decided to take Max on a long walk in the nearby park, hoping to lift his spirits. As they meandered through the trees, memories flooded back. Tommy's laughter rang in her ears, each echo a reminder of what she had lost. Upon reaching the park, she noticed Max sniffing around a familiar spot, the place they used to come together as a family, where Tommy had once tossed a frisbee for him to chase. Realization hit her like a wave. This wasn't just a walk for Max, it was a funeral procession for the love he had lost. In the weeks that followed, things remained the same. Tommy's mother grieved silently, while Max lingered in a space of endless waiting, often returning to the cemetery where Tommy was laid to rest. It became routine. Each evening, Max would wander back there, as if being drawn by an invisible thread. It was during one of these visits that Max met Jake, the cemetery groundskeeper, a man who had his fair share of suffering, but a heart that still beat with kindness. He noticed the golden retriever sitting dutifully, a statue against the tombstone that bore the name of the boy he once knew. "Hey there, buddy," Jake murmured, crouching to be at eye level with Max. The dog turned his gaze towards Jake, eyes filled with a depth of sorrow that words could never describe. "You're a good boy, aren't you?" Jake's voice broke slightly. Max had never been one for affection from strangers, but there was something about Jake that made him soften. Jake reached out a hand, and to his surprise, Max allowed him to pet him gently. "I know it hurts," Jake whispered, feeling his own grief surfacing. "I've lost a lot too. It's tough, isn't it?" Jake had lost his own child a few years back, an accident that struck without warning, leaving him a shell of the man he once was. In his attempts to cope with the overwhelming pain, he found solace in caring for the resting places of others. It gave him purpose, an escape from his sorrow, but seeing Max there today stirred something deeper within him. With every visit to the cemetery, Max and Jake developed an unspoken bond. Jake began to learn more about Tommy from the few family members who visited his grave. To him, the boy became more than just a name etched on a stone. He became a part of Jake's own healing process. Emily, a friend of Tommy's, visited regularly. She would kneel beside the grave, leaving flowers and reminiscing about shared moments. Max would join her, lying down nearby. Whenever he sensed her sadness, he would inch closer, offering quiet comfort. One day, as Emily sat with Max, tears streaming down her face, she said, "He would have wanted us to be happy, you know." The dog nuzzled her hand gently, as if understanding every word she spoke. Over time, the bond between Max and Jake deepened. They spent hours together in the cemetery, Jake sharing stories of those who rested there, old souls and forgotten lives. Max listened, quietly absorbing the energy of each tale. And still, each day, Max refused to leave Tommy's grave. It became a point of contention for Jake and Emily, who worried about the dog's health. While they coaxed him to eat and encouraged him to play, the golden retriever remained steadfast, his heart anchored to the memory of a boy who had loved him fiercely. One rainy night, the storm rolled in, furious and unforgiving. Thunder echoed through the air, and with each crash, Max whimpered, feeling the chaotic energy reflect the storm inside him. Jake arrived that evening, concerned for the dog's safety. he found Max soaked to the bone, still sitting at Tommy's grave. "Come on, buddy, you've got to get inside," Jake pleaded, his voice heavy with desperation. But Max simply stared at the gravestone, his loyalty unwavering. Finally, in frustration, Jake knelt beside him and put his arms around the dog. "I get it, I really do. But you can't stay here like this. Let me help you." Max leaned into Jake, and for the first time he felt a flicker of trust. Maybe this man understood his pain. In a moment of vulnerability, Max allowed Jake to lead him away from the grave into the safety of the truck he had grown to recognize. That night, with a storm raging outside, the two of them found comfort in each other's presence. Jake sat on the truck's bed while Max lay down beside him, his head resting on Jake's leg. "You know, I've been through a lot too," Jake admitted softly, stroking Max's fur. "But we can't keep living in the past. I lost my son, and it hurt like hell, but I realized I can't let that keep me from living." As the rain poured down, filling the air with a sense of renewal, Max responded to Jake's touch, a bond forming between two lost souls, anchored by love and loss. The night grew quieter, and as Jake whispered stories into the darkness, Max listened with an open heart. Days turned into weeks, and as summer gave way to autumn, Max finally began to open up. He would still sit at Tommy's grave, but now with a sense of acceptance rather than despair. Jake continued to visit every day, bringing treats and speaking kindly. There was laughter again, small moments of joy that felt foreign after the heaviness they had both carried for so long. One sunny afternoon, Jake decided it was time to introduce Max to the world outside the cemetery. He took the dog to a nearby park, the sun bursting through the clouds, casting rays of light upon the vibrant green grass. Max felt the warmth of the sun on his back, the scent of blooming flowers wafting through the air, and for the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of hope. At first he was hesitant, standing off to the side and watching the kids play. But when Jake threw a frisbee, urging Max to chase it, something shifted. The dog's instincts kicked in and he bounded forward, a mixture of joy and hesitation as he returned to playing. As days passed, Max started to become more active, visiting the park with Jake, discovering a new kind of happiness while still cherishing the memory of Tommy. The bond between Max and Jake grew deeper as they explored life together, filled not only with loss, but with newfound purpose. One evening, while sitting beneath their favorite oak tree in the park, Jake turned to Max, who sat contentedly with his head resting on Jake's lap. "You know," Jake said, looking out into the horizon, "I think Tommy would want us to move forward. He wouldn't want us to be sad." Max looked up, as if understanding every word. The memory of Tommy still lingered, but now it existed alongside the blossoming friendship between Jake and Max. They both had a long way to go, but they had taken the first steps toward healing the wounds that life had inflicted upon them. The seasons changed, and as winter approached, the world around Max transformed. He would still visit Tommy's grave often, laying down beside it, but he felt comforted, having Jake by his side. Together they honored Tommy's life, not with sorrow, but with memories filled with laughter and love. One snowy day, Jake brought a special treat to the cemetery, a colorful bandana that had belonged to Tommy. He placed it near the gravestone, speaking softly. "This was his favorite. Think he would want you to have it." Max nudged the bandana gently, as if recognizing the special connection, and his heart swelled with a mixture of grief and gratitude. Months passed, and both Max and Jake learned to navigate life's challenges together. Whenever the pain overwhelmed them, they found solace in one another's presence. In the quiet moments, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they would sit together, sharing their hopes and thoughts, each finding healing in the other's companionship. Finally, one day, as spring bloomed anew and flowers blossomed, Max lay beside Tommy's grave, feeling an overwhelming warmth. The flowers were vibrant, swaying gently in the breeze, and Max sensed that Tommy's spirit was finally at peace. In that moment, he understood that it was time to move forward, to live a life full of love, just as Tommy would have wanted. As they strolled through the park, Jake looked down at Max. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" With a bright, spring sun overhead, Max let out a joyful bark, eyes sparkling with renewed energy. Together, they ran through the grassy fields, a celebration of life, love, and memories that would never fade. In the end, Max had learned that love knows no boundaries. Even through loss, bonds exist that can help navigate the path ahead, guiding them toward a new beginning built on the foundation of cherished memories. And as the seasons turned in a beautiful cycle, both Max and Jake found relief from their sorrows, comforted by the realization that those they loved would always remain alive in their hearts. If this heartwarming story touched your heart, please give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more incredible stories about love, loyalty, and the bonds that tie us together. We want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment of unwavering loyalty like this? Share your story in the comments below.